Hey, I'm Tyler,
And I'm Justin.
and this is Newbies to Movies, a podcast where we talk about new movies that we're watching. So this week, the theme was around an actor, Daniel Day-Lewis, but we're going to first start off with saying what we've been watching for the past week, other than the two movies that we picked out for this week. So to get started, I haven't been really watching movies this week, surprisingly enough. I really got into a new medical show, or not new, but it's 2025, The Pit. It's on HBO. It has Noah Wiley. He's the director and he stars in it. It won the Emmy for Best Drama, and then he also won it for Best Actor in a Drama. Overall, I was really surprised by this. I'm not usually a big medical drama show kind of guy, but it really shocked me how much I liked it. And then from there, it was 16 episodes each hour, ever since 1 hour while in the ER. So it's like acting like a shift. So each episode is a different hour, and it kind of just like builds off of each other. You get really involved with the characters all just through different scenes. And it's also renowned for being like one of the most accurate medical dramas with like the appliances and how they actually operate. So yeah, highly recommend to anybody
That's pretty neat.
out there to try to look into it. I think it would surprise you, even if you're not into medical shows.
Yeah. I'm definitely would say I'm not into medical shows, so maybe I'll check it out.
Yeah. Usually I'm not either, so I was a little bit surprised. Like my parents always grew up watching Grey's Anatomy, but that's not really like my kind of thing. But this one isn't like, it's got a little bit of drama, but I would say it's more based around like a certain plot and like building on the characters itself rather than extra drama that doesn't need to be there. Like Grey's Anatomy usually would have. Cool.
Yeah.
What have you been watching this week?
Yeah, I haven't really watched anything besides the movies we had. I've been playing a lot of guitar this week for the band. Trying to learn a bunch of different new songs right now. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. Well, we're going to start off a little different than we usually have in the past. And we're going to start off with playing Immaculate Grid. It's a way for us to like, I don't know, have a little fun and then also try to see what kind of movies we can line up with. If you don't know what Immaculate Grid is, I'll share the screen, but it's basically like two different like categories that need to match up. So for this example, it has a title that contains the, and then has to line up with Jack Nicholson, Jodie Foster, and Lawrence Fishburne, and then just different things that go along with it. So we'll get started.
First thing off the bat I'm seeing is we have the for Jack Nicholson, but also 2-word title. So maybe we go The Shining for 2-word title if we can think of something else that is there for Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, because you got The Departed too. So
okay, yep. There we go. Yeah, probably do The Shining for that one. Okay, 19.6, that's good. And then, yeah, we'll do The Departed. So now we're on to Jack Nicholson and title that starts with I through P. Does that mean like any letter between I and B?
I think so. It says ignore articles.
Okay. What are you thinking there?
I'm thinking One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Okay.
I haven't seen it, but I know that's like one of his big movies, but that counts. I don't know what else. Yeah, that was the biggest one.
That worked perfect. So now we have Jodie.
Yeah.
Now we have Jodie Foster and title that contains the, I'm thinking, I don't know. What are you thinking here? I don't know Jodie Foster.
Maybe one I have to come back to because for 2-word title, I know she's in Panic Room.
Okay.
But that also starts with P, but there's also Inside Man. So it could be either or. I'm going to do Panic Room.
Is that the lady that's in Silence of the Lambs?
I think so.
Is it the Silence of the Lambs or is it just Silence of the Lambs?
I think it's just Silence of the Lambs. This one I'm going to go with Inside Man.
Okay.
It has Denzel
Washington. So that's for... Yeah, that's for Jodie Foster, and the title that starts with I through P.
Yeah.
Click that one and type in the Silence of the Lambs. See what happens. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Let's try it. Sick.
Lawrence Fishburne.
And then Lawrence Fishburne. Jesus Christ.
For this.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So 2-word title and Lawrence Fishburne. We're going Apocalypse Now.
I feel like this one's the easy.
Yeah, The Matrix.
We're not going for some crazy answers here, but
yeah.
I feel like
title starts with I.
I know he's in the John Wick movies. I just can't. Let's go with chapter.
Yeah, just take a shot here. Oh, let's go. 9 for 9. Okay, that wasn't too bad.
Now we got them all. Maybe we'll try to challenge ourselves. We'll try to go dive a little deeper in the future.
Yeah, because we did some basic ones for sure.
Yeah, cool. We got it though.
But they weren't like necessarily easy categories. Like how many
No.
people have titles that start with I through P?
Yeah. That one was the hardest
Like you
one, in
got
my
to dig for
opinion.
that.
Yeah. 2-word title is pretty easy. And then like everyone has a movie that starts.
Yeah.
Well, I think where we're going to go from here now is getting into Daniel Day-Lewis himself. So Daniel Day-Lewis, he's 68. He's an English actor. So he's born and raised in London. He has some crazy filmography, but all that included, he has won 3 Oscars, which is a record. Nobody else has won 3 Oscars, like no other actor. And he's regarded as like one of the GOATs. And he's also regarded as creating intense method acting. Him and Marlon Brando really started it, and then Daniel Day-Lewis kind of turned it into his own thing, to where each of his movies, he like becomes the character himself within it by like doing actions before. For example, and for one of the movies that we did this week, There Will Be Blood, he lives out in like a Texas in a tent for the entire filming of the set. Like he doesn't live in a hotel or anything like that. He also looked up like how to talk in older English during that day. Like listening to recordings and all that, and then practicing. And My Left Foot, which is his first Oscar win, which is based off around an artist that had cerebral palsy but could only control his left foot. He actually acted like that on and off set. So he like would have people wheelchair him around everywhere and could only use his left foot like while the entire time on set, which I think is also insane. He also went to an institution with disabled people and like became friends with them and to understand their struggles and all that kind of stuff. We did this week because Justin a couple weeks ago was like, I've never seen a Daniel Day-Lewis film, or we did Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah.
So we decided to do it a couple weeks after. And both of these films are also Paul Thomas Anderson films, which I thought was also interesting considering we did him a couple weeks ago. What do you have to say about Daniel Day-Lewis from just these movies?
Yeah. I know we had kind of talked about potentially doing There Will Be Blood with Paul Thomas Anderson that week. So I'm glad, we got back around to it. Daniel Day-Lewis, I forgot I had seen him in The Last of the Mohicans. I really enjoyed that movie. So it was, cool to see his later on movies. Yeah. Like you were kind of explaining, just the pure method acting. And you can see how much he dives into this roles. Even I think we both have some pretty interesting takes on the movies we watched this week. Even in both of the roles, you just see how far he went to kind of fully just dive into the roles. Whether you like the movies or not, you can see that he cared, and the characters that he built up were, you can write a good character, but you need an actor to portray it as well as he does to really get the point across.
Yeah, he's got some crazy range because Last of the Mohicans, and then you got There Will Be Blood, and then Phantom Thread, just 3 total different types of characters that he perfects like each one. And I think it's kind of insane. Something else about him is that he originally wanted to be a woodworker as like his career, but then the fellowship, like a 5-year apprenticeship, didn't accept him. So then he just became a theater actor and turned out to be one of the best ever, which I think is a crazy trajectory life change.
Yeah, definitely a 180.
Yeah. And then he also retired twice in his career. So he retired in the late 90s before Gangs in New York, and Martin Scorsese had to convince him to come out for a role in that. I've seen Gangs in New York. He plays a William Cutler, and that's a crazy character himself. And then he retires again after There Will Be Blood for a little bit. But then he creates like a theater movie based around. It's not that successful, but then he comes out with Lincoln. And then after Phantom Thread, he retired again, and he just came out with a movie this year, which is directed by his father, or not his father, directed by his son. So I think that's pretty interesting as well. So he's retired 2 other times in his career and then keeps coming back, just doing random stuff. Like in the 20s when he retired, he became a shoemaker for like 5 years, just as like part of his life, just because he wanted to.
Yeah, that's interesting. I saw he has also been knighted, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Apparently in the Oscars, like it was a joke that they like knighted him because he's English, I guess. And it was like a joke at the Oscars. And when he won There'll Be Blood, Oscar for that one. And he was like, that's the closest I'll ever be to being knighted. And then 6 years later gets knighted. So it's like, well, he called it. So I think he's such an interesting like guy to like. I think part of the method acting is that he just likes doing different stuff. I don't think it's all just him trying to play the characters, but I think he enjoys doing what he's doing for those characters, which we can get into more when we talk about the acting for the movies. So the movies this week were There Will Be Blood and Phantom Thread. There Will Be Blood is on Prime Time or Amazon Prime, and then There Will Be, and Phantom Thread is on Netflix. So if you want to check those out. So we'll start with There Will Be Blood with Justin.
Yeah. So I knew nothing about this movie going into it. I obviously didn't even know that he won an Oscar for this movie, but I can see why. The plot kind of starts out as him being a silver miner, and then he kind of turned into an oil prospector. He moves to California and adopted his son because one of the guys that works for him, died trying to get the oil. And he kind of goes around California painting this like family man image to all the people he's trying to mine oil on their land for. And he's really just conning them. And then he kind of runs into what he finds out is a huge oil field deep underground. And he tricks a family into selling the property to him. He, lives there, mines there, everything like that with the family as well. And then you get Eli Sunday, which is the preacher that lives in the area. He lives on the property as well. And kind of they're going back and forth about, what's right to do. The battle with religion and capitalism is a big theme of this movie. And it's a very, very slow burning feud between the two of them. And both of them are I could see both of them kind of being looked at as villains. But overall, for the plot, I gave it an 8. It's a really, really good story.
Yeah, I think the story is awesome. The way it starts off with like the needle drop right to start a movie is like super ambitious. Like usually movies start off a little slower, try to build up the character, but it just starts off with like the needle drop sound that follows throughout the movie itself, with him breaking his leg to get gold and then goes to California and then the whole thing in Texas. I did like the addition of like the greed, the sins, like the whole combination of that, especially in like East Texas, where that is like such like a holy ground itself, that Texas is like big about religion and all that. I think that really played in that as well. And you can just see how greed overcomes this man. I don't think he was ever like a great person, but you could just see him turning more evil as the more money that he gets and the more success that he gets.
Yeah, I think part of me as the viewer wanted to kind of trust him, especially in the beginning of the movie. We're in the same position that the landowners are in. We just see this guy and his son, and we just want to trust him because he looks like a family man. He acts religious, he seems like a trusting guy. But the more and more it keeps happening in the film, you just start to kind of fall away from him as a character and be like, yeah, I don't think he has good intentions behind what he's doing.
Yeah. It's like, for example, like the adoption of HW. At first, I was like, that's nice for him to do after his coworker died, like that. But then you can see how he's just using it to come off as a family man. He's usually just using it for the perception. He doesn't actually care for the kid. He gives the kid whiskey at a certain point, and then towards the end of the movie, you can just tell he never really cared, and he straight up tells him that.
Yeah. Kind of getting into that with the characters, I gave it a 9. Obviously, Daniel Day-Lewis played Daniel Plainview, but I think a close second to one of the best characters in this movie is Eli Sunday and Paul Sunday with Paul Dano. I think he really shocked me in this role. I mean, he's been great in every movie I've seen him in, but kind of being overshadowed by Daniel Day-Lewis, I believe he was also star-studded to me.
Yeah. No, this is definitely like a spring out role for Paul Dano. I don't know if he was in much before this, and this is kind of what brought him into the forefront. And then we did one of his other movies, Prisoners, way back, where he plays a way different type of character. I always think it's interesting that Paul Dano chooses like some of these weirdest characters to be able to play, but he plays it fantastic. Especially as like Paul right at the beginning, as a guy that doesn't have the best intentions either. He's trying to screw his family over for, I don't know if I like just missed it in the movie. I don't really know what happened with Paul and why he wants to leave the family so bad, but it turns out.
I don't think we really ever found out, but I would assume it's something along the lines of not being so religious, plus the father, not being so great to his children.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just crazy because when you come upon the father, like right away, you can just tell that he's not like the strongest guy or really, I don't know. He doesn't give like alpha energy vibes like that Daniel Plainview does throughout the movie. And Plainview just sees that and just takes advantage of him right away. Kind of like a soft guy, I would say, is what he gave off to me at least. But the characters itself, Daniel Plainview, you want to talk about like, we can get into acting, but like becoming a character. Like this is like one of the most like outstanding performances I think I've ever seen in a movie. Just some like, you didn't notice that was Day-Lewis. That was Daniel Plainview. Like a lot of these movies, like we talk about the actors, like in these role characters. But when I think about this movie, I think of Daniel Plainview, not like some other movies where you think about the actor and then the character, if that makes sense.
I mean, in this movie too, you see like his character is kind of on a roller coaster ride. You know, you start thinking that maybe he's kind of turning it around. He's coming to his senses and understanding, he should be a better person. And then again, you really just never know what he's thinking. He did a complete 180 and he's right back to his old self. But
yeah,
Day-Lewis really gave that impression of like, maybe he is changing. I think about the scene where he's getting baptized specifically when I'm talking about that.
Yeah. Like he plays it so well to where Daniel Plainview himself is acting in that situation, trying to play the role so he could put the oil pipeline through Bander's yard or acres, which he turns out to just be like, oh no, you can't drill here, but we're fine with you going through it. Little did they know that he was actually draining it the whole time. So I thought that was really interesting as well. Yeah, but then Eli Sunday kind of like it follows throughout the movie with the beginning of him like just wanting a church, and then you could see even greed overcoming him, and he notices towards the end of the movie. But then you have like the whole ending of the movie that he says, "I'm finished." Like Daniel Plainview is just like, "I'm finished" after killing him. Yeah, I think that was like the conclusion for both those characters with their life, because Plainview is not a well-spoken man anymore and doesn't have his head on straight.
And then for cinematography, I gave it an 8. I thought it was pretty cool. Read a little bit about it. They used Panavision lenses, and they kind of give it like the broad shots. I think about when they first struck oil on the land and, there's a big fireball in the sky. That was a really cool image of Plainview kind of standing there looking at the fire. And I think it was a very classical approach to filming this movie. There wasn't that many cuts, a lot of really long shots added to, the depth of the characters.
Yeah, I thought the cinematography was great. I gave it personally a 10 because I think this is like such a well shot movie for what it's on. So some of the takes are just insane. Following through him throughout like the burst of fire when he jumps into the ocean. I thought that was a really cool scene too. Before like, I don't know, something about Paul Thomas Anderson is when he does a movie, he's going to do some really cool scenes, and you can just the 4 movies that we've seen, all the cinematography has looked great. So I think that's just something that he's known for, and he really geeks out about like different imagery.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then for the dialogue, I gave it a 9. I usually kind of pick a favorite line from the movie, but I think I would just pick the whole last 30 minutes of the movie. Specifically, I drink your milkshake exchange, and, where he's kind of forcing Eli Sunday to, say that, he's a false prophet. Everything like that was pretty amazing, really fiery from the characters, and it was just a lot going on. It was awesome.
Yeah. I'm glad that we chose There Will Be Blood for Daniel Day-Lewis instead of Paul Thomas Anderson, because Day-Lewis is renowned, and Anderson even said that a lot of the lines Daniel Day-Lewis made up on the point, like on the job.
Yeah.
Like it was off script, and he just kept it because he thought it was awesome. And there's a scene where he gets HR back after he's at the death school, and they're eating like steak in that really nice like country club kind of place, that he kind of breaks character. You could see he like laughs a little bit where he's not supposed to. And he kept it in the movie because they thought it was just going to be that iconic that like Daniel Day-Lewis broke for the first time and like in a movie, but like it's so minor that, and he's still playing Daniel Plainview, that he may just be going sick and is insane. I thought that was a cool little nod to it too.
And then for the set design, I give it an 8. I thought it was pretty great. I thought the, environments were pretty functional, especially with the main oil field where everyone's kind of staying. You kind of, where everything is. You're not getting lost or anything like that. And I think it just overall reflects the themes of the movie with ambition and corruption. I think about too with that, when they're going around him and his, what he thinks is his brother, and they're placing stakes, everything like that. Kind of gives you the idea of like, I don't remember that religious, ideal back in the day, but just kind of like God wants you to move west and keep going west.
Yeah. I thought that was the set design and all of that was really cool. But something interesting is that it was set and it was filmed at the same time as No Country for Old Men, but like literally within like miles of each other. So they're two iconic like West or East Texas or Western Texas movies that were all like shot right next to each other, and they ended up competing with each other for the best picture that year, where they'll one battle or No Country for Old Men ended up winning over There Will Be Blood. But I thought that was interesting because you could see how the imagery looks. It's West Texas. It looks exactly like it. And then leads right into the ocean part too, which I thought was really cool. That like some people just forget that there's parts of the ocean that actually connects to Texas, especially in West Texas. Yeah, I thought it was really cool that they shot it all out.
Yeah. And then for the acting, I gave it a 10. Obviously, we kind of already talked about that. Day-Lewis really embodied the role. And then I also just put in a shout out to Paul Dano. I think he was a really amazing character in this as well. Two characters, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, you look at like the cast for this and it's nothing crazy.
Yeah.
There's Paul Dano and Daniel Day-Lewis are like the two standout names. The rest of them, I can't tell you where I've seen them in other movies. I think like the side like helper to Plainview, I've seen him in some stuff, but I don't know him by name or anything. So these two just really carry the movie on their shoulders compared to like some other movies by Paul Thomas Anderson that are kind of carried by a star-studded cast. This one doesn't really have a star-studded, and it's kind of just dominated by two people that just really embody their roles.
For directing, I gave it an 8. I think Paul Thomas Anderson did really well here, but I did mention that I think sometimes if I had to pick one thing, this movie dragged a little bit in the middle, especially with his whole brother thing. I know that was vital to his character, but I think it went on a little longer than it needed to. But other than that, I think it was a really well-directed movie.
Yeah, I think from the ones that I've seen, I think this is his best directed movie by far. So I would say it's like this, and then One Battle After Another is like a close second with like Boogie Nights a little bit right behind it. I think it's really well done. He adds like a little bit of humor here and there like he does in all of his movies. But I think his direction with it was really well done. But also you got into like the brother part of it. I thought that I didn't feel like it was dragging on. If anything, I wanted a little bit more of it, to where how did he not notice that it wasn't his brother earlier? But to be fair, they haven't seen each other in a while. And it was like that one small thing about his childhood that really just nicked it off for him. And then it just kind of made him end up killing him. But yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's my issue with it is I wish he would have caught on to it sooner.
Yeah.
Which is weird that I cared about that character because he was kind of an a-hole, you know? But that's what made it so good.
I think what PTA was trying to do was, one, he hasn't seen him in a while, but I think Plainview also just wanted someone there that like was related to him, actually backing him up. I think that's why he gets rid of his son in the first place once his brother shows up, because he's like, okay, my son's not actually related to me. This guy is. He'll have my back. And the moment that he realizes that he's not actually, he kind of just crashes at a character and kind of goes insane for a little bit there.
Yeah, I think that, but I think also like he wanted his son to be like his next protege. And now that his brother was there, he didn't really need to wait the 10, 15 years for his son to come up. He could have somebody there in case anything did happen to him.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
And then for soundtrack, I gave it a 10. I thought it was an amazing soundtrack. Kind of like you talked about with the repetition of sounds early on in the movie. I thought it built great suspense and really drove home, small story arcs with the characters.
Yeah, every time that like I can't even simulate it, but whenever that came on, like you kind of stood up in your chair a little bit and you're like, okay, let me lock in.
Yeah.
Because like something's happening right here. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. And you can kind of see how he uses this. And then in One Battle After Another, he does a very similar thing with repeated sounds. So I thought that was also interesting to look at, like a newer movie from like probably his best movie.
And then for themes, I picked up on a couple here. I gave it a 9. Obviously, you have like the destructive nature of greed with Plainview. And then just the overall conflict, that still goes on today between capitalism and religion. You see that pretty hefty in Plainview and the Sunday Family. And then you have kind of the dark side of the American dream. You think about all the people that always wanted to come to America to live out their dream and do what they want to do, but there's a lot of dark that comes out of it a lot of times. And then the corrosion of family and relationships with the Sunday Family, as well as Plainview and his son.
Yeah. there's like a darkness to success in America, especially if you don't do it with while having a family, and he does it all by himself. You could just tell once it does that time jump towards the back half of the movie to where he's just like a loner, just getting drunk every day. And even though he has all this money that he's worked so hard for, he has no one that really in his life that cares about him.
Yeah.
Because he always pushed them away and or just treated them like horrible, because that's just who he was.
And then for editing, I gave it a 9. I thought it was pretty cool. I know I mentioned the shots earlier, the super long takes. It says there was 678 shots and 158 minutes, which is very low, considerably low for most movies, and especially this being such a long movie too.
Yeah. I thought the editing was done really well. I'm just wondering, maybe this is more cinematography, but like some of those shots, I'm just like, how did you do that? Like the oil ones, getting that with it being so clear cut, and like the chasing scenes with like the fire and all that. I just thought it was so cool how they were able to do that and then edit it together as well. And even like there were some long chasing scenes that are just longer takes, but I think were still really cool and edited well.
I think to the first scene in the movie too, I watched the beginning with Madison and I looked at her and was like, it's been 20 minutes and there hasn't been a single line. It's just been music and watching this guy try to, manage getting the silver or gold on his own. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, which is such a risky thing to start a movie without any talking. It's like kind of like in The Quiet Place, right? Like there's no talking in that beginning of that movie and it's just dead quiet. This does that and it's such an effect, and then, but it's not part of the movie. It's just what it is. And really speaking to you without seeing the dedication in this man to get money is really interesting. And it's like way before he starts.
Yeah. Overall, I give it a 8.8 out of 10 or an 88. I really enjoyed this movie, pretty much everything about it. I think if I had one knock on it, I'd say some of the middle drags a little bit, where I don't feel as much development from Plainview until that kind of third act. And then it really all starts get the ball rolling. But other than that, really great movie. Obviously one of Daniel Day-Lewis's best.
Yeah. Yeah, I gave it a 9.2 out of 10 or 92 out of 100. I really like this movie. I've seen it in the past, but I think the more that we've been watching these and getting better at like deep diving into these movies, I can recognize this movie more and like actually appreciate it for what it is and what it did for overall just film today itself. Because you can see a lot of like people taking stuff from this movie into their own movies now, even building PTA's experience himself. It is interesting because Daniel Day-Lewis won Best Actor that year, and it won Best Cinematography, which I'm not surprised by, but it lost Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Editing. It lost all those, which I thought was also like, I was surprised by, just because it lost to No Country for Old Men, which is one of my more favorite movies, but yeah. That's like a 1A, 1B situation for me, actually. So like, can't really hate on one over the other.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if there was anything else that came out that year that, really took away from it.
So Lewis won over everyone for There Will Be Blood, but No Country for Old Men won Best Picture. Best Director was the Coen brothers for No Country for Old Men. Best Actor in a Supporting Role, Paul Dano wasn't even nominated, which I think is a disgrace.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Best Adapted Screenplay, it looks like No Country for Old Men ended up beating it out on like all the same exact categories.
Wow.
So it was just one of those years. Cool. What was your favorite scene?
I think most people would probably say the baptism scene. I've seen that regarded as like, one of his best scenes as an actor. But what I'd say is the last scene, where they're in like the house bowling alley thing and Sunday comes basically trying to beg him for more money. Just that whole breakdown of both of their characters finally at the end stages of what they've always believed in was very interesting for me.
Yeah. I think baptism scene is really iconic because you see it all over Instagram and stuff as like top actors, and then they have that scene up for him. I'm trying to think though. Honestly, I think it's the whole take of like the oil drill on fire, that whole entire scene together, like the way it starts and then just prolongs into each other. And then like, you would think he's super upset from it, but he's like, why do you look all sad? He's like, we got more oil under our feet than the freaking ocean. And then the guy's like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
He's like, I thought you were going to be really upset at me, but instead you're just like, laughing.
And at the same time, he was like upset about his son, but also he cared more about the oil.
Ooh. All right. So the second movie that we did this week was Phantom Thread. Phantom Thread came out in 2017, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 2017. Directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, starring Day-Lewis, Vicky Krieps, Leslie Manville. But it's another one of those movies where Daniel Day-Lewis and another actress, Leslie Manville, being the two big components of the movie, and then everyone else is just kind of there. This is such a interesting movie because it's about a dressmaker in the 1950s London who makes dresses for like all the most popular people in England and all politicians and all of them, and how he's just obsessed with his like work and kind of leads him. And then he meets this younger girl who he wants a relationship with, but he's so obsessed with his work. And then, yeah, I feel like that's a good way to like briefly describe how the movie goes.
Yeah.
I gave the plot a 7 out of 10. I think I get what it was trying to do, but I still think I gave it good bounce because I see what direction they were trying to go in this movie with the plot of he's all by himself, but he's obsessed with his work, but he finally meets someone he loves. Right off the bat, you could just tell he's obsessed with her. And then, but he wants to love her, but then he's also like, doesn't want to not be the best at his own job. And he's obsessed with it to the point where it's like OCD, but in a job. And it kind of progresses through that. She poisons him, and then their relationship thrives. When he gets back to be able to work, the relationship gets worse, and then he lets her poison her at the end, just because he knows that if he's able to work, he won't be giving all to the relationship that he wants to actually do. He's just so obsessed with his work that he needs to not be able to work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I described this movie as La La Land with really bad pacing and poorly written characters. That's my take.
I don't know if they're poorly written characters or if we're having the same thing to where this is even set in the 1950s. It's still like English in a way where you don't actually know what they're saying when they're talking to each other. Yeah. Do you remember what was the other movie that we did that we said that we didn't understand what they were saying in the movie? But
yeah, I don't remember, but I know what you're talking about. It's just where like the type of English they're using is not, even though it's the same language, it's not the same language we understand and can, take hints and, stuff like that from. It's just really hard to understand what they're doing with.
Yeah.
I think it was Poor Things.
Yeah, it was Poor Things. Except that one I think did a little bit better with like adding plot without having to talk. Well, this one, for me, there was just a lot of scenes depending on you like being able to understand without them talking, where I couldn't pick it up. I don't know. Maybe it's just at the end of the day, I just don't know if this is like my type of movie personally.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
But as we're getting more into like trying to get out of our comfort zone, I can at least appreciate what this movie was trying to do. Giving the characters, I gave it a 4 out of 10 because I don't know. I think me and you had the same issue of just not really caring about the characters. I don't know how else to describe it other than I just couldn't care less what was going on in their life. I don't know. They couldn't convince me that to care. Like there was no point where I was like, okay, maybe I'm just not trying. It was like, no, like you aren't giving me a good reason to care.
Yeah. I think I texted you about an hour and 20 minutes in of me watching this. And I said, he's an a-hole who all he wants to do is work. And she's the idiot that wants to stay with them. I was like, I don't know. Like, what am I supposed to get out of this? I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah. It's such an interesting dynamic because it's such a young woman with like such an older guy. So I think that dynamic is also just weird to me, but it's also 1950s England with like a super wealthy man. So I'm sure that isn't unusual. Getting into cinematography, I will say this is like one of the highlights of the film for me. I thought it was shot beautifully. Mm-hmm. One of the most beautiful films, I would say. You could see like from that, like a royal aspect, even though he isn't royalty, he pretty much is because he's always around royalty. So I gave it a 9 out of 10 because I just thought it was shot beautifully. Again, something Paul Thomas Anderson does is he's going to make the movie look pretty good.
Yeah, it did look good as a movie overall, but also I know we'll get into set design, but I think, their area where they work, their house, everything like that was pretty well designed too.
Yeah. I think specifically to cinematography about the scene, I don't even know what they're at. If it's like some like festival or something, But it's like when he gets kind of healthy again, but then he sees her in like this festival of a bunch of younger people, and he kind of just grabs
Hmm.
her and takes her with her. But I thought that was like beautifully shot, just seeing like some craziness going on, but like such a simple impact on the relationship.
Yeah,
Getting
that
into
was the
dialogue.
New Year.
Yeah, New Year's party. Yep. I just couldn't remember what it was. Getting into the dialogue, I gave it a 6 out of 10. I understand it's older English, even though it's set in the 50s. I don't know much about Great Britain, but I know even in the 50s, they were still talking like it was older in English compared to what we do now. Just sometimes
Yeah.
they would be talking and I'm like, I just don't understand what you're saying. Yeah. What do you think about the dialogue?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like we kind of talked about before, it's like it's really tough because it is almost a different language. So you really have to have, body language, other forms of communication that go into the design of the film to really get points across sometimes with that. And I just just did not do it for me. There were scenes where they were staring at each other. I'm like, what's going on? Like, I don't understand what's going through either one of their heads right now. I don't
Yeah.
know what these characters are feeling. Yeah, it wasn't good in that aspect of telling me the story.
Yeah. I mean, I think what a lot of people have seen, because I watched or I listened to a podcast about this movie because a lot of people really like this movie, like a lot of critics. I think the critic score is a lot higher than the audience for a reason, because I think
Mhm.
this is more of an artsy movie compared to a lot of different ones that we like. So I think a lot of those scenes were building tension with each other without saying anything and like kind of building up romance in between their eyes. And for me,
Mm.
it just didn't work like some romance movies do. It just didn't work for me.
Yeah.
Now, getting into acting, I gave it a 7 out of 10. Talking about Dave Lewis himself, I thought he was great in it, like he usually always is in everything he does. I don't think I've ever seen a movie where I'm like, oh man, that was a bad performance by him. I thought he was great in
Yeah.
it. He was a believable guy that did. Apparently, a year prior to this, the movie like filming, he became a dress like connoisseur, and like he actually learned how to make dresses and would be able to replicate like the higher end dresses. And by the end, he like made some himself. So I thought that was also like just going into like how method acting he does. He just gets
Yeah.
embodies the character himself.
No, that is pretty cool. I think it's really just him in this movie. It felt like the relationship between the two of them, it felt like they just met throughout the whole movie, even though there was time passing. Like I felt no real chemistry between the two of them. It felt like they were just saying lines out there. And maybe it was more her than him, but I just couldn't grasp onto anything in the relationship and be like, oh, these two like truly care about each other.
Yeah, I don't know. Vicky Krieps, who plays like the love interest in this, I don't really know much about her filmography, but I haven't seen her much since. But she is like a British-based actor, so maybe she's just an actress. So maybe she's just based out of there mainly. But for me, I feel like
Mhm.
this is like a good example of a film of just one actor outshining the other one wholeheartedly, and to where it kind of takes away from the movie with how well someone does. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I agree. I think kind of what I'm getting at, I guess, is like there's no like real love tension between them. Like I said earlier,
Mm-hmm.
like sometimes they're like staring at each other in like a room full of people. And I'm like, am I supposed to feel something that they're feeling? And I just don't at all. Like, I don't know what their deal is.
Yeah, I feel that. Getting to sound effects, again, something about Paul Thomas Anderson. He's usually going to have a pretty good soundtrack that goes along with the movie pretty well. So I gave it 8 out of 10. I thought
Mhm.
it added parts to the movie that I think weren't all there, but I think the soundtrack itself added good parts to the movie.
Yeah, the soundtrack definitely like pushed some narratives forward that I was missing out on. I feel like, especially in scenes between those two. Specifically, I think to when he was ill a couple times in bed, that would drive forward the plot a little bit. But I think the plot overall was just kind of lacking for me, so it pulled from everything else.
Yeah, and then getting into set design, I gave it a 10 out of 10. I thought the set design was actually amazing,
Yeah,
done really well. It was just beautifully shot. To start off with like the house itself, it's going up like those elegant stairs and then leading into like his room. Just all those different types of shots. It was just one super believable, but also just like really good to look at.
yeah, no,
Sometimes
I agree. We kind of go ahead.
it kind of had me like kept me like distracted because it was that good looking, for where sometimes I just wouldn't be paying attention to what they were saying because I was just like looking at what was all around them.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Especially that New Year's Eve scene. It was the costumes from all the people there, everything like that. I thought it was one of the coolest shots of the movie, especially kind of I guess what you could say is the duality of both their lives. She kind of wanted to go out and live the life she wanted to live, and he was living this really elegant, modernized style of living in his house. And then we go to the New Year's Eve party and we see all this craziness pop up all of a sudden.
Yeah. It won best costume design at the Oscars. It's the only award that it won. And it makes sense. I mean, it's a movie about making really elegant dresses. So it makes sense that it wins the best costume design. And then getting into directing, I gave it a 7 out of 10 because I could still see where he was trying to go with this movie. I just think this is one of his lower plot driven, movies. I think overall the movie for me is just fine, but I think plot driven, I think this is one of his weaker ones compared to the other one.
Yeah, I agree. I think, he's definitely a director that's not scared to take risk. And not that this was necessarily risky, but I almost feel like this was actually kind of light for him. He just kind of did a basic story rather than, really trying to hit one out of the park, I guess I could say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, he went after a movie that was set in older England or like mid 1900s England compared to, he's always interested in different times, you could tell with all of his movies. Because There Will Be Blood is interested in West, or like the gold rush kind of era, oil era of the early 1900s of the United States. But then unites is into like the 80s and 90s by the porn industry. And then One Battle After Another is kind of set in more of like the mid 2000s to late 2010. So each of his movies goes after a different era, it seems like. But I think this one he goes after in such an interesting way, but it doesn't entirely work for me just because the plot isn't all the way there. Getting into editing, I gave it a 6 out of 10. I don't think it was anything crazy. I don't think it was anything crazy bad. Just like nothing to really pinpoint for me that I thought was really well.
Yeah, I didn't get anything specifically crazy about it. The one scene where, she's making him food at the end, I thought that was kind of edited together well, panning around the kitchen. But other than that, everything else kind of felt basic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems a little basic, but then also just sometimes it seemed a little bit long when it didn't need to be long, like a kind of stretch. Theme, I gave it a 5 out of 10 just because I think this is like one of the few movies that we've done to where the theme doesn't really speak to me like really loudly. And we could pull out some to where one of them is like the addiction to work and how it affects your relationships. But I don't think that's like really what he's going after in this movie. I truly don't know what PTA was going after in this movie within the theme. And maybe that's just my inexperience of watching these type of movies. But what do you think?
No, I 100% agree. Like this movie definitely was not made for me. And, it might seem like I'm shitting on it, but it's just not going to grab onto me as a viewer. I think it's made for a different person. And so, I had a hard time picking up any real themes from this, but clearly I was missing a lot from this movie. And maybe upon a rewatch, I'll pick up on more things. But
yeah, I feel like may want to watch it with like somebody that really raves about this movie so I could actually understand where I'm missing. Because I have a feeling listening to all these like top end people that give like a lot of like recognized movies really a lot of attention and that they say this is like one of their favorite movies, I feel like I'm missing something in it.
Yeah. It's all perspective too. I mean, they might be into more movies that are similar to this too, right? And they've picked up things in other movies and they're picking up the same here. This just isn't my kind of style of movie, I think. And that's why it fell for me.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel that. Overall, I gave it a 7.1 out of 10 or 71 out of 100. Not the lowest ranked that we've done here, but definitely a little bit lower than the other PTA movies that we've done. Because I know One Battle After Another and Boogie Nights we ranked pretty high, and then There Will Be Blood we both ranked pretty high.
So. Yikes, dude. I gave it a 5.2. 52 out of 100. I really just had a lot of issues with this. Very slow moving, very dragged out, felt overly long, and just not much richness to the plot at all. Just feels very surface level.
Well, that's definitely, that has to be your lowest ranked movie, I feel like.
It might be.
Yeah. I think we may be getting pickier and pickier as the weeks go by. I can just tell that we are a little bit.
We have to. We can't rank everything the same.
Yeah. I think overall about this movie, if I had to pick out my favorite scene, it would be the ending, just because I think a lot of the movie was missing a lot of like drive in the plot, but the end of the movie, at least I got something out of it to where I was like, okay, like he ends up being fine with him getting poisoned because he just wants to be with her rather than working because he feels like he needs to when he's like good. Like the best part of
but
the
bro,
relationship
just
when he was ill.
like take a vacation or something, my guy. Oh my God, it's so stupid.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think he's one of those people that could take vacations, obviously, because he never did or never did anything like that. He had like a controlling factor over her too. Once she started to become a little bit more independent, he started treating the relationship a lot worse. And the bickering started once she became less of like just like a side person. I don't know if that makes sense.
Maybe the critics like this because they're just like him. They work all the time and hate their lives. I don't know.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. So yep, that was our things for this week was Daniel Day-Lewis overall. I want to watch more of his movies now. I haven't seen Last of the Mohicans. I think I want to watch it like tonight because it looks really interesting. I think you should check out Gangs of New York just for the fact of like him in that movie, and Leo's in that movie too, DiCaprio.
Yeah.
And Liam Neeson. I think the plot itself has some holes in it, but I think the acting in the movie is awesome. And it's kind of like one of those movies that just kind of rocks because it's about old New York and the gangs there.
Yeah. Check it out.
How we're going to end this episode is that we're going to do a thing called Keep 4, Cut 4. Sure, most people have heard of it on like Instagram or TikTok, where we're going to say 8 movies, but we're going to do it in order. And then you have to say keep or cut. And by the end, you'll have keep 4 or cut 4. And you kind of just like, I don't know, it's just like something a little bit fun to do. Cool. You want me to go first?
You mean like I say for you first?
No, like I say for you first.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay. All right. So the first movie that you have to either keep or cut is Back to the Future 2.
Jeez. 2?
Yep.
I'm cutting. First one's better.
Really? I think the second one's the best. Third one's by far the lowest one, but
yeah.
Okay. Second one, Star Wars 5, Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, I'm keeping that. That might be my favorite Star Wars movie. Either that or Revenge of the Sith. So yeah.
It's the best one. Empire Strikes Back is the best one. I don't know. Can't think. Return of the Jedi, I think maybe my second favorite. Yeah.
A lot of people hate on that one.
Yeah. Force Awakens is actually really good, and it could have been really good for them. And then the other two are just so horrible, though. But
yeah, it falls down the hill fast. I'm not getting into it either because we'll be here all day.
So somehow Palpatine returned. Oh, shut up. One of the best written lines of all time right there. Holy shit. All right. Number 3, The Terminator. You've seen this, right?
Yeah, I've seen it many times. But honestly, kind of mid. Give me cut.
I think the second one, Terminator 2, is the best one.
Dude, that's Judgment Day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one better.
It's where Arnold's actually the good guy. First one, he's a bad guy. All right, number 4, Interstellar.
Yeah, keeping Interstellar.
I bet you can
unless all your home run movies are coming up, this is too easy for me.
Yeah, we'll see. I got number 5 being 2001, The Space Odyssey.
Yeah, I'm keeping that. I love that movie. It's really one of the movies that really got me into like studying film. I did like a 15-page paper on it in cinematography class, and it wasn't even on the movie. It was on the one scene. We had to pick one scene from the movie that we watched. So I wrote 15 pages about how taking over and, killing the astronauts in space. Spoiler alert.
Reality is becoming more and more every day about AI.
Yeah.
Even though I see some funny videos about these robots that they've created that end up breaking themselves. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like robots like having boxing matches and then they just end up falling and breaking. It's just some of the funniest videos. And we're like, yep, robots are definitely about to take over.
What is this, real steel?
Yeah. It's like, oh, this is how real steel would have actually went. All right. Number 6, I'm going to go with The Predator.
Yeah, I'm cutting The Predator. I enjoy the movie, but I think it's just a, high school slasher flick disguised as like a war film.
Yeah.
Each of the, military guys are just like one's like clearly like the cheerleader of the group and is going to die the fastest.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good. It's good. Don't get me wrong. But I think it was just at the time, the writing wasn't that great.
Yeah. I think a lot of people love the Predator franchise, and Predator Badlands, I think, came out this weekend or next weekend. Everyone says it's really good, but I've never been a Predator like follower.
Yeah.
All right. Number 7, Jurassic Park.
This is tough because I enjoyed Jurassic Park, but I feel like you're about to throw me like some crazy number 8. We're talking like the first Jurassic Park, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The first one.
I'll cut Jurassic Park just because I feel like you're saving something.
I was hoping I would get you on that one.
We might also get me here if this is bad.
No. Number 8, I wanted to get you on the last one, is Godzilla -1.
Oh, dude, I love Godzilla -1. I love my list. So I'm going to guess that you did sci-fi movies.
Yep. Okay. I think you could have guessed it probably after the third one.
Yeah, I had it there. Because at first I was thinking like, oh, maybe we're doing 80s. And then you said Interstellar and I was like, yeah, that's it. So for mine, I definitely went like a little more niche category, but we'll see. I mean, you'll figure it out. It's a little easier to figure out, I believe, but we'll see here. All right. So first I'm going to go Avatar.
Yeah, I'm cutting that.
Okay. Good cut. Interesting.
I like Avatar. It's one of those movies where I could just recognize how it looks is really cool and how they make the movie, but it's nothing that like I would die on a hill for. It's not a movie that speaks to me. It's just cool to look at. It's like a fast food movie for me, which I hate to put in that category because I think it's better than most blockbuster movies, but it's in that category for me.
Yeah. Okay. Then for the next one, I'm going to go Star Wars Rogue One.
You are going super niche. Really like, yeah, I'll go with Rogue One for keep.
Okay. That's a good keep there.
Yeah. It's my third favorite. Yeah. It's my third favorite Star Wars movie. So.
Yep. All right. For my third one, I'm going to go Guardians of the Galaxy Part 3.
Part 3. Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2 sucks.
Yeah, that's the bad one. I mean, I don't mind it, but it's the least of the group for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to keep Guardians of the Galaxy 3 because I think I know what Caddick is doing.
Honestly,
those two movies speak more to me than the other.
I enjoy Guardians of the Galaxy, the original, but Part 3 was so deep. And as an adult, I think I enjoy that one more than the first one.
Yeah, I think me too. I think Galaxy 3 is probably my favorite movie.
Yeah. So 2 keeps, 1 cut. Let's go with Alien for your 4th movie, the original.
Okay. I'm going to cut Alien because I think Aliens is the best one.
Okay.
Because I'm doing ones that speak to my heart. Rogue One is the best Disney Star Wars thing that they've done, in my opinion. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is like a top 5 Marvel movie for me and the best Guardians movie. But for the Alien franchise, I think Aliens is like so much a tier above. And I even go with Alien Romulus I like more than Alien, which is probably a hot take.
And then, wait, have you seen Andor? Speaking of Rogue One.
No. I started watching part of season 1, but dude, they have so many shows. They came out with like 6 shows in the last 4 years.
Yeah, no, I know. Andor is by far the best one, in my opinion. I think it does a really great job at portraying that character, but that's neither here nor there. Let's go with number 5, WALL-E.
I think WALL-E, I'm going to cut WALL-E. Yeah,
that's a fair cut. That's a fair cut at this point in the game.
I think for me, WALL-E, we're talking about Pixar movies. It's outside of my top 5. So I feel like, again, it's not a movie that speaks to me.
Yeah, I had to fit one in my category here. The next one, I'm going to go Dune.
Dune. You haven't seen the Dune movies, right?
I haven't, but I know you have.
And I just don't know what your last 2 are going to be. Like you could play like a shitty one and then I'd be like, ah. So I didn't really like Dune when I first saw it. And then I rewatched it before watching the second one and I really liked it. I really like the Dune movies. Timothée Chalamet to me is the most unbelievable, is the most like, I don't believe that he would be that guy.
Yeah.
Isao guy. I don't think he's that guy. Like, I don't know. There's nothing about him that changes in the movie other than the way he walks.
Yeah.
I think Chalamet is great. Don't get me wrong, but like, holy crap in that movie. Does it piss me off that everyone's like, oh my God, what a great actor when like, I think he's not that good in that movie. So I'm hoping.
So which one did you like better out of the two?
I like Dune 2 more, even though I just said like he didn't change that much. I think Dune 2 was like a better story, more convincing story.
Yeah.
So I'm going to cut Dune and just hope that these last two aren't the worst ever.
I could just dig for like terrible ones, but I'm not going to do that. So I have Star Wars A New Hope. So you got to keep that one, which obviously classic. And then I was hoping that you would keep the first Dune because I was going to throw a curveball now that you said you like Dune 2 better and give you Dune 2.
Yep. Dune 2.
Yep.
Glad. Yeah, I do.
So
I do like
not,
Dune 2.
Not a bad list.
Nah, not at all. If I had to swap anything, I'd probably swap New Hope with Alien. But that's just because New Hope, for me, I think it's a great setup movie, but it's just not as good as like some of the other ones.
Yeah, more iconic than anything.
Yeah, cool. If I had to guess the theme, I mean, other than, of course, just like, space, but other than, I mean, it's all of these are set on one planet or all revolved around one planet. Even Alien isn't, though. You haven't seen Alien, though, right? Is it just an alien movie?
No, it's not that deep, bro. It's just space.
Okay. I was like, you said more niche, and I was like, is it more than just space?
Well, mine was more niche than just sci-fi.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, much of these are on one planet, except like they actually aren't, but
yeah, no, they're all over. There's just space.
Yeah, cool. And
if we do this again, I'm definitely going to find like a super like hard to find thing in common with all of the movies. Yeah. You're just going to be like, what?
It's like some like filmographer that was on the set. Yeah, he like actually was on each of these sets in a very minor role. Cool.
Yeah, no, we should definitely do this more. It's just fun.
Yeah, awesome. Well, this was fun talking about Daniel Day-Lewis, his movies, and all that kind of stuff. I think next week, what is the theme next week?
Do not remember.
Next week's theme is going to be biopics, which I think would be interesting because one just came out with Springsteen, and as well as like biopics is, I don't know what it has been, but the last like, I feel like 10 years, there's just been an insane influx of just biopics, one after the other, about people. So it'd be fun to do some next week. But cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
See ya.